See?
Okay.
Is it only me?
I think that could go. Hello, everybody. Okay. We'll wait 2 more minutes.
Okay.
Do I have to wear this thing? How does this work over here?
I want to send Maydoon a message. Maybe she's supposed to be, because she's converting, so she should be here.
I can hear. I think we can hear you without that. I don't know
Oh.
how the others are, but I certainly can.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
All right.
Welcome to Bahrain.
Wish we were there.
Yeah, I was just about to say that actually, Yocheved.
Wish we'd be in Fadayan, not in Europe.
Would you like water? Just changes. Would you like water?
Sure, thank you. Or coffee. Do you guys have coffee here?
Coffee. How many sugars? Milk?
No sugar.
No sugar.
Yeah, just
And milk?
no milk.
No.
Yeah.
You don't have room in the office? Yes, no, it's less than you people only.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you so much. So let me just check out the
It looks like it's working.
It's set up, but you have to just turn it on.
Okay.
Like, what does she have to do? Just tell me to go to it. I'm fine. I don't think that's what you read. We're here. I'm so excited. Really expert. I'm excited. Okay, thank you very much, Mental.
Sure.
It's like an expert in kashrut.
I have questions already.
All right. Just,
Are you gonna be teaching us this semester?
what?
Are you gonna be teaching us this semester, or is this like
It's
a
just for today.
Okay, so there are only 3 people right now, so you can start.
Okay.
The third person coming with a coffee.
Okay.
Hi,
Hi. How are you?
I'm fine, I'm good.
Okay. I guess we'll wait for the third person.
Did I hear you say, excuse me, did I hear you say that you're only teaching today? This isn't a regular thing?
For now, yeah, I wasn't supposed to be here. I was supposed to go out of Israel, and I had other plans for me to stay in Israel.
Okay,
But
okay,
as of now, it's just for today.
Where are you going to?
okay, okay.
Yeah. Hold on, I was supposed to go to Brazil, but Hashem wants me here.
At least I'm up only one eye.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shahakal niv'dvar.
Amen.
Okay,
I
people.
don't have to say mine again because I was gone for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, you already said, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So my name is Mendel.
Mendel.
Mendel, yeah. And I'm from Los Angeles, and we moved here to Bad Ayin about a year ago. And so I want to talk about today about my specialty, what I work in. I work in the meat industry. And I want to talk about, you hear me? We're good?
Did you say meat?
Yeah, meat.
Meat. Okay.
Busser. That's what I do. And hi. So I guess what I wanted to call this class is Meet Your Meat, where you could figure, like, so I could just sort of give you sort of an overview about where our meat comes from, what is the entire process from beginning to end. So,
I'm a vegetarian.
oh, okay, sorry.
I can eat everything.
Okay. So let's first start with the pasuk. So it's in Vayikra we learn about the 2 signs of the animal, right? So it has to have split hooves, right? And it has to chew its cud,
Oh,
okay?
like a cow.
Like a cow, okay? So chewing its cud, the real terminology, it's really called a ruminant. A ruminant is a type of stomach. It's basically a plant-based, they say this expression, you are what you eat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So really it goes deeper. It's you are what you eats. Like whatever that animal eats, that affects you as well. So if the animal eats well and it is healthy and well, then it affects you as well. So it's important to understand what is chewing its cud is this idea that it's a ruminant, okay, and it has a process of eating. Its stomach is different, its teeth is different, and its eyes are different. The whole animal is different, and the idea behind it is that it can't be an animal. It cannot be a predator. The animals that we eat has to be like nice, I guess I don't know if it's called nice, but more relaxed animals, more animals, I think there's a word for it, I don't remember the word.
Docile.
Docile, right? The more chilled out animals, and they don't eat other animals. Because they don't eat other animals, the way Hashem designed the cow and sheep.
Those animals which you got, they didn't eat another animal.
Right. Okay. By definition, when it is cut, when it's a ruminant, the way the stomach is designed is that it's only designed to eat grass. So like we hear about meat, we hear about grass-fed meat that's healthier. So it is healthier because it's designed, the stomach, the cow has 5 stomachs, and it's designed
5 stomachs.
5 different stomachs.
I thought there was 3.
No, there's 5.
I thought there is one.
I could show you later pictures of the
Ah.
five stomachs.
Wow.
It has 5 stomachs, and the idea is that it's a magnificent process that it takes grass, which doesn't look so nutritious, it doesn't look so cool, it doesn't look, and it converts the grass into food. And in order to do that, it needs 5 different stomachs, and it also needs a particular type of teeth. The teeth that a cow and these ruminants have, they only have teeth on the bottom, they don't have teeth on the top. And because they don't have to chew, they don't have to like, so if you, let's say, take a lion, or if you take a predator that eats animals, it needs specialized teeth on the top and the bottom, very strong and very long. I forgot the name of the teeth, but a cow has 32 teeth, same as us, 32 teeth, but it's all on the bottom. The top layer of the cow is more of just like a holding thing. It's not, all its teeth are on its bottom.
The cow doesn't have teeth in
On
the
top.
upper?
No, nothing upper, only lower. And the idea is because it needs to chew the grass, and it needs to chew it again and again. So its teeth, the way God designed its teeth is that it's flat teeth. It's not like like lions and tigers. Their teeth are very, like they have to, sharp.
Incisors.
What are they called?
Incisors?
I guess so, yeah.
Like this
Canine?
type of teeth.
Canine teeth, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the canine teeth, right. So they have to be very strong so they can rip apart meat. Kosher animals don't do that. And also another thing is interesting thing with the eyes, the cattle and most of these animals have 2 eyes on the side. Like they can't see straight ahead of the cow. They can't really see that well. Their vision is like a 360. They could see a lot better, like the surroundings, they could see a lot better because their eyes are not exactly in the middle like our eyes. Their eyes are slightly to the side. Their 2 cameras are a little bit on the side, so they could see without moving their heads.
Like a god.
They, like what?
What is that animal?
Familiar.
I'm not sure. Where basically, the way it's designed is that it could, without moving its head, it could basically 360, it could see the whole surrounding. And it's designed like that because if any predators try to come, it has more options. Like it could see things, it could see the entire picture. And the animals like the lions, the tigers, and the predators, as well as us, I don't know why we have it, but that's the way Hashem designed our eyes are close to each other. Predator eyes are close to each other. They could see depth better.
It's like focus.
It's more focused. You could see more depth, and you could see more contrast. You could see like the different things you could see. It's just like an interesting thing that the way Hashem designed, you know, the everything about it. So it has to chew its cud, and it has this ruminant stomach that it has to process the wheat. Okay, so after that, we have these 2 terminologies. These after we select the animal, we have to make sure it's a kosher animal. Then there's the process of called shchita. Shchita means to draw in. Shchita. Shchita comes from the word, it's a Hebrew word which means to draw in. So it's not about killing, because we don't believe in killing an animal. It's wrong to kill an animal. But our idea is that we're elevating this cow, the sheep, the chicken. We are bringing it to a higher place. We're bringing it to another place. So that's what this idea of shchita, we're elevating it where it's supposed to be. Now, the journey is that once there's a specialized knife that you need. It's an extremely sharp knife. And the idea is that it has to be so sharp that the cow, the chicken, doesn't feel the pain. And you know, in the kitchen, I do a lot of cooking in my house, and I know that it's more dangerous to cut yourself with a dull knife than with a sharp knife, because a sharp knife is a smoother cut. When it's a dull knife, it's not as good. So the shchita knife, don't try it at home. The shchita knife is extremely sharp, and the idea is that it has to be done very fast, so fast that before the animal it loses its consciousness, before it realizes what's going on, it's already over. So it has to be very quick and very fast. So in the shchita process, there are 5 problems that could happen, 5 different issues that could happen, that if any of these issues happen, let's say, for example, if the shochet in middle decides to drink a coffee, or if the shochet just hesitates for a moment, then the shchita is not good.
It's like a butcher.
Yeah, right. A shochet is the person, the ritual slaughterer, the one that does the process. Okay,
I
so
saw the knife. It's very thin.
very thin, very large and very thin.
And very sharp.
Very sharp. So if any of these 5 problems happen, whether he hesitates or he presses too much or too little, there's if any of those 5 things happen, this animal is called a nevela. That's the Hebrew word. Nevela. Yeah. And we're gonna learn.
So is it unclean or is it unsuitable?
Unsuitable. It's like unkosher. It's not kosher.
Nevela means unkosher.
Yes. And we're gonna learn these 2 terms. One is called nevela, and the next one's called a treifa. Treifa.
Treifa is kosher?
Non-kosher. They're both non-kosher. We usually, the word treif, you've probably heard of the word before. There's kosher and something being treif, not kosher. And they'll use that word even in regular terminology. Oh, this is not kosher. Or in Hebrew, you say, this is treif. It's not, the music is treif, the atmosphere. They'll use the word treif, but in its literal term, it's referring to meat. So we're gonna distinguish between nevela and treifa. It's very important to understand the difference between these 2 terminologies. It's almost like in medical school when you learn the difference in a nerve between in blood vessels. You have an artery and a vein, right? So that's like a basic thing in medical school. You got to know the difference in an artery and a vein, right? What's the difference? One goes to the heart, right? An artery is going from the heart. Maybe later we'll get to learn. Pumps the blood out. When the heart is pumping, it goes out, and then the veins goes back up to the heart without oxygen. We can learn about that later, about what the heart and the kosher and things like that. So these are 2 things we need to learn about. There's a nevela and then there's treifa. Nevela is when something happens in these 5 categories. If the shochet makes a mistake in these 5, and we can get into later about these 5 different mistakes, or 5 different problems that it could have. If any of those 5 things happen, it's considered a nevela. Now we see this in Devarim, in Deuteronomy Yud Dalet Chaf Aleph. It says, "Lo yisoichel kol nevela." You should not eat all nevela. That's what it says in the Chumash. So, a nevela is basically a problem with the shchita. If the shochet did something wrong, it falls under the category of nevela. It's still not kosher. You can't use it. It doesn't make a difference if it's nevela or treif. But for our purposes, it's important to understand the difference between when did the problem happen. When we say this meat is not kosher, why is it not kosher? Is it because there was a problem with the shchita? There was a nevela problem, or there was a problem with the animal itself? Any questions so far?
No.
No, we're good?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
A problem with the animal itself would be if it had lesions in the lung or
Right.
something like that.
If it's gonna die within a year,
Right.
and we're gonna get into that, there's 70 different categories of being not kosher.
70.
770.
Oh, 7.
Can I ask a question?
70. Yeah.
Sorry. You said there were 5 things that could cause a nevela, and one of them was if the shochet hesitates. The other one is if he presses too much or too little. But what were the other three?
So
Or did I miss them? I'm sorry if I did.
no problem. So I didn't know if we should get into, that much detail. So I
Oh,
just,
okay, no problem. It's okay.
I'll just say it in Hebrew. Shia is hesitating. Derusa is I have to look it up the English because the shchita part is not my specialty, but I'll have it in Hebrew and you could have it for later. So the first one is Shia, the second one is Drisa, Chaluda, Hagrama, and Oker, which is it's basically in 5 different categories of different hesitations, going too much, going too little, taking a break, so, or not cutting properly. So there's a we all know about this, the windpipe and the food pipe that has to be cut, but there's also 4 major blood vessels that have to come, and that is the carotid artery and the trachea, right? That's the blood. That's those 2 main, the food pipe and right, the trachea. That has to for sure go. But also like the carotid artery and the vein, the major vein. I forgot the name of the major vein, but the blood vessels also have artillery vein. So the blood vessels also have to be cut at the exact same time. When you cut, the people just know about the 2 main signs, the 2 main, the food pipe and the windpipe that have to be cut, but the blood vessels also have to be cut, and they have to be sliced together in one shot. Yeah. So again, so all those any trouble with the shchita, with the first process, is considered nevela. And then the second thing is treifa. And that comes from the pasuk in Shemais Chav Beis Lamed, and it says, "Ubasar basada treifa." If you find a basar, piece of meat, in the field, and it was treifa, it literally means it was torn apart, meaning that it was in the field and another animal tore the animal apart. So that is considered treifa. So treifa means it's trying to say that it's from the animal itself, like the animal is gonna die because it was torn apart or other problems with the animal. Now, in treifa itself, the Mishnah and the Chachamim talk about 8 different categories of treifa, 8 different things that could go wrong. So the first one, we're not gonna go through all 8, but the first one is being torn apart, like what the pasuk says. The second one is a hole. If there's a hole in one of the major, like the lungs, the heart, places like that, mainly the lungs, it's called nukva. If there's a hole in the lungs, it's considered a treifa. Treifa. And then, so it starts off with 8 from the Mishnah. It starts off with 8, but then there are subcategories which are 70. And this is the complicated where you have to learn. People learn this for years. All the 70 subcategories. Just like on Shabbos, you have like the Av Malacha, you have like the main one, and then you have like a subcategory. There's 8 things that could go wrong, and then there's 70 other things that could be wrong with the animal. So technically, after you do shchita, so in the sequence, starting from 1, we have to first make sure we have a kosher animal, right? So it has to chew its cud, and it has to be a ruminant, right? That's number 1. Then we need shchita. We need to shecht properly and make sure that nothing went wrong in the shchita. Once the shchita is no problem, then the next step that they have to do with this cattle, this doesn't apply to chickens, it's only big animals, cattle, sheep, deer, stuff like that. The next process is treifa. They have to determine, they have to check to make sure that
100 morgen.
What was the first one? Sorry, I was reading what I just finished.
the very first thing is to
Ik heb
make,
het pachtenkoek als die vrouw van net komt.
second one is to shecht it, to make sure it's shechted properly. If it goes, if
Het is eeuwig stand, sinds 12 wochen.
if it's shechted properly, then we have the next thing we have to check. We have to make sure it's not treif. Now, how do we check for 70 different items, especially when we're working in a factory in a mass production, and there's a whole process. We have to hurry up. We can't check every 70 items, like an inspection. So the Chachamim figured out that there are certain things that are more likely to happen, that are more troublesome, and then there are things that are most likely it's not a problem. So just like with doctors, they don't check everything. When you go for a physical, they're not going to check they check certain major categories, and if this is working, if that's working, they clear it. So one of the main things that we check is we check the stomach, and we also check the lungs. Now, before I get into the lungs and how to check the lungs and stuff like that, I just want to talk one thing about, we were talking before about the ruminants and about the cow. The natural state of the 5 stomachs is that it has to eat grass. Now, the thing is, people, originally, the cows only ate grass, and they were small. Like in South America, in Uruguay and a lot of these South American countries, they don't have corn. Corn is very expensive. In the US, corn is very cheap. So they figured out a way that if we feed cattle corn, we could fatten them up, because there's a lot of fat in corn, apparently. And instead of giving them grass, we could give them corn, and they grow bigger, and they also give you more fat. So part of what makes a cow a meat, but sort of what makes it taste good is not the meat part, but it's the fat part. Like if you ever heard of like a rib steak, right? Like a ribeye, like a prime steak. What makes a prime steak good is that there's fat content inside the ribeye. The way we're going ahead, but basically when inspectors come and to grade the meat, they give you a grade, like grade A, grade B. So prime is considered the best. They base it on a few different inspections, but one of the main things is they're looking for the fat content, the fat compared to the muscle. And the more fat, like the Wagyu, for example, is very fat. The fattier it is, it tastes better, because when you cook the meat, it's softer when there's more fat inside. So the meat that comes from Argentina, from South America, is tougher meat because they don't feed it corn. So it's actually healthier when it's grass grass fed. It's healthier, but it's healthier because that's what its stomach is designed to do. Corn is not really healthy for it, but it grows faster and it tastes better. And they've done studies where they asked people, which one tastes better. Most people like the corn fed because it's what we're used to. It's fattier. It's not game. It's not as hard. And us Westerners, we got used to have like soft meat, and that's how we want it. But really, it's not so natural. It's not healthy. And even the corn fed, maybe we're getting off topic a little bit, but even the corn fed, like the regular cows that we eat, the first 6 to 7 months, they don't feed them any corn, because if they fed them corn in the beginning, their stomachs, they would die. They would the stomachs couldn't handle it. Only after 6-7 months, when they're a little older and they've been giving them grass, then they can slowly introduce corn, this unhealthy candy for them. So again, I was just saying this because talk about the ruminants and the stomach. Corn you could eat faster. It doesn't need that whole process of breaking it down. The stomach is designed, Hashem designed the stomach that it breaks it down. It takes a long time to process, and because it takes a long time, you know, whatever, it's a process. So it's healthier. Its teeth is designed its way. Its stomach is designed this way, and this is the way Hashem wants it to be. And we just like our food bigger and better, and you know. So it's
May I make a comment? Just an interesting point about healthier. I would imagine that it's, in fact, I'm not practically sure that it would be mentally better for them as well, from animal welfare point of view, that they're able to demonstrate their natural behaviors.
right. And if it's better for them, then I think it's also better for us. I'm not
Sure.
here to advocate. I'm not a health expert, but I know the meat doesn't taste as good because a lot of the meat from Israel does come from South America, and it doesn't necessarily taste as good and fatty as American meat, but it's definitely healthier for the cow. And if it's healthier for the cow, then I'm assuming it's also healthier for us, because we are what we eat. And you know, it's if you know, just like with chickens, like free range chickens is healthier, and the eggs that come out of free range chickens, you know, it's a darker yolk. It's healthier because when you give an animal what it's supposed to, you know, or children, you let children go a little free range a little bit, you know, if you let them, it's healthier for the parent. So we basically just have to respect Hashem's world and respect, give the animals and understand where they're, so that's a sort of a side point. Okay, so getting back to what we were saying is that there's nevela and then there's treifa. And once we determine that it's not treif, that it's not going to die within a year, then it could go on to the next process. So one of the things that we check is the lungs. And I don't know if I have a good picture here. Maybe look it up online. The lungs they have many sections to it.
Do you have graphic?
I have a picture of the lungs, yeah.
Wow.
There's a picture of the lungs.
Go lungs.
Yeah, you don't. See it?
Wow. So big.
If you want to look at it, you can take it and look at the lungs. Okay, so the lungs has a lot of processes, and there's a bunch of terminologies when you buy meat, like is it Bet Yosef, is it galat, is it kosher? So we're just going to go over some of the categories of different types of meat. All those different categories of galat, of halak, it boils down to the lungs, because that's one of the most important organs that we check for when it's called the bodek. The bodek checks for the lungs. And in the slaughterhouse, there's two types of checking. There's called a bodek chutz. Bodek chutz means a bodek means a checker, an outside checker. And then there's an inside, someone that checks it internally. So an outside checker, basically, while the animal's hanging, after they take off the internal organs and take off the stomach, there's a diaphragm. And the diaphragm, just like with all mammals, the diaphragm separates the breathing, the lungs, the heart, the upper organs from the lower organs. And in the slaughterhouse, they open up the stomach, they take out all the digestive systems, and then the bodek chutz, the outside guy, opens up the diaphragm, and he sticks his hands and he checks the lungs. While it's attached to the animal, he checks the lungs. And what he's checking for is to see that the lobes, there's the bigger ones, and then there's the smaller ones. The bigger ones are called the mothers, and the smaller ones are the children. And the big ones and the small ones, he's checking to make sure there's no adhesions, that there's no, each lobe could breathe properly on its own. So he's checking to make sure that it's galat or halak. He's checking to make sure that each one of them is completely smooth. Now, if it's not smooth, if it's, let's say, for example, if it's attached to the wall, if it's attached to the diaphragm, it's attached to the wall of the animal, it becomes treif. It's possible that when he checks the lungs and there is a adhesion between one lung and the other lung, he could feel, and depending how bad it is, sometimes it's only a little small thing that he could take off, and that's fine. If it becomes too difficult to peel off, and basically what they're looking for to make sure that there's no hole in the lung. If there's no hole in the lung, then it's fine. So what they do is they do a bedikas chutza, external bedika. Once he determines that it's fine, they pull it out, they take out the diaphragm, they pull it out, and then they put it on a table, a specialized table. And this specialized table, it's called bedikas chutz, which means a external checking. And they put it they blow up the lungs, and then on top of the lungs they have water. They have like a shower. And the idea is that they want to blow up the lungs to see what it looks like. If there's bubbles, it's like almost like a tire. You want to see if there's any holes in the tire. And the idea is they blow up the lungs as big as it would be when it's breathing, and the animal is breathing in and out, where the lungs expand. And the idea is that he's checking while it's raining water. He has to check each one to make sure that there's no holes.
Like a contraction.
Yeah. Okay. Like it's sort of like a bike to make sure there's no holes. You know, like with a tire, you put it in water, and you make sure there's nothing leaking out of the tube. Okay. So he checks every one, and he makes sure it's fine. Now, if it's completely clear and there's nothing on it, that's what we call Bet Yosef. Bet Yosef means the house of Joseph. And that refers to in the Shulchan Aruch. This is the code of Jewish law. In the Shulchan Aruch, this was written by Rabbi Yosef Cairo. He wrote the Shulchan Aruch, and he wrote, there's a commentary, if this is the big Shulchan Aruch, he wrote in the commentary, there's a commentary called Bet Yosef. We're not going to look at it inside, but I'm just looking over here. There's a commentary called Bet Yosef, which is the house of Yosef, which is Yosef Cairo. So, sorry. The Shulchan Aruch itself was written by Yosef Cairo. Let me just back up a second. Shulchan Aruch is the table. It's our basic code of Jewish law. Our main code of Jewish law is Shulchan Aruch. But before this, the first one to come up with this idea was called the Torah. That was his name, Torah, and he wrote the 4 sections of Torah. And in the Torah, there was a commentary called Bet Yosef, which is the house of Yosef, and he wrote a commentary on the Torah. Eventually, he wrote his own book. Instead of being a commentary, like the way a lot of these books work is like, let's say the Gemara, right? There's like the main, the Talmud, and then there's commentaries on the side. So sometimes they decided, some of these commentaries, they decided that instead of just writing a commentary, they're also going to write their own book after. So that's what Rabbi Yosef Cairo did. In the beginning, he just wrote a commentary on the Torah. Then eventually he wrote his own book called the Shulchan Aruch. So anyhow, that's like a long-winded way of saying that in this, when you check the lungs and the lungs are completely clear, it's called Bet Yosef because Rabbi Yosef Karo was very strict on certain aspects of the lungs. He was very, very strict. And he held that the lungs have to be completely clean, completely smooth. So when you go to the store today in Israel or anywhere and it says Bet Yosef, it's referring to Rabbi Yosef Karo, his commentary on the Torah, and then later he wrote this book called the Shulchan Aruch. He was very, very strict. And then in the Jewish world, you have the Sephardi and the Ashkenazim Jews. So the Sephardi Jews from Spain, they follow the Bet Yosef, so they're more strict about this particular part of the lungs. So anyhow, so that's Bet Yosef. When you say glatt kosher refers that the lungs are clean. They're glatt. Glatt is a Yiddish word for means smooth or chalak. But we are allowed to have, if there's some adhesions in the lungs between one lobe and another lobe, if you could peel it off without making a hole. So this Bodik is a specialist in knowing how to peel off these adhesions. There are certain ones that are so strong that it's impossible to take off without ripping the lungs. If you peel it off and the lung rips, and you could just see it rip, or you put it under water and you see the hole, then it's not kosher. It could still be kosher if there's a small adhesion and you peel it off, and you peel it off on both sides, and then you see that after you peel it off, you put it in under water, and you see that there's no hole in it. It could still be kosher. It won't be in the category of Bet Yosef. It won't be in the higher category, but it will still be considered glatt kosher.
Even if there is a hole?
No, if there's a hole, nobody says it's kosher. It's not kosher according to anybody. If there's adhesions, these small little things that grow from the lungs, if it could be peeled off without making any holes, right, then it could be glatt kosher. Yeah.
What causes the adhesions in the animals?
What causes it?
Yeah.
So there's an argument about, so I don't know the medical reason why, but according to like a Jewish law, it says that the animal was unhealthy. There's something wrong with the animal, and it's trying to, like when you get a wound, you hit yourself sometimes, like you'll get a scab. So that's what it is. It's something happened to the lung, and it's trying to plug itself up. It's trying to fix itself, and it could live. It can live with adhesions for many years. It's not a death sentence. It's only that if you pull it off and there's a hole, that's considered a treif. It's considered like it won't live for more than a year. Now, so I don't want to be confusing, but basically there's in the store today, not in all stores, but in Israel specifically, there's 3 categories of meat that you could buy. The highest is Bet Yosef. The second is chalak or glatt. It's called chalak. I don't know how to spell it, but and the third category would be kosher, just plain kosher, or kosher under the Rabbanut. So in Israel, Rabbanut refers to the rabbinical body in Israel. So Israel is very different than every country, where there isn't a separation between church and state. So in the U.S., I don't know in other countries, but in the U.S., religious stuff are left to religious people. Like the government, like if you want to get married in America, you get married, you have to get a marriage license. And you have to go through the city, the county, whatever, however they do marriages in the US. In Israel, if you want to get married, there isn't like a civil marriage and then a religious marriage. There isn't that separation. When you get married or divorce, we're not talking about divorce, but a marriage, it has to be done with the rabbinical, the rabbinical authority in Israel. They are part of the government. There's not like in the US and other countries, there's like the government, and then if you want to do something religious, you go to your religious rabbi. Here, whether it's good or not, it's just the way the country's set up, is that the religious authority, they're part of the government. And they control certain things. So let's say like food is, you can't bring in non-kosher meat into Israel. They have, the government has a rule that you can't bring, probably also you can't bring in pig. I know it used to be like that, but maybe if you grow it here, it could be different. But you can't import any non-kosher meat into Israel. They won't allow it. Just like you can't import, weapons or something, just like there's inspections on weapons that can't be imported to Israel. You can't, they're rabbinical, they have a control, which is, it's government, it's part of the government. They control all the meat that comes into Israel.
But we can export.
But no, Israel doesn't really, Israel exports some chicken, but it doesn't export meat because it's, most of it, what?
You don't have enough.
Yeah, it's very small. Basically, in South America, there's a lot of cattle in South America and in the US because there's a lot of space. For cattle, you need a lot of space to grow the cattle. So in countries where it's not so populated, they could have a lot of grass and they need space. Even if you cram them in feedlots, you still need a lot of space. It's just, so Israel doesn't have a lot of Israel has a lot of chickens because it doesn't take up so much space. Israel does export chickens, but it doesn't export meat. So all the meat that comes in to Israel, it can't come into Israel unless the Rabbanut approves it. So in every plant in Brazil and Mexico and in Argentina, US, wherever meat comes from, the Rabbanut sends a representative to those meat plants to make sure that they're following the standards. And also they make sure that they're putting, there's 3 categories. There's Bet Yosef, there's Galat kosher, and then there's Stam, like regular kosher. They're making sure that they're keeping those 3 categories. That if they're saying it's just regular, yeah.
I'm not sure what the difference is, right? I'm not understanding what the difference is between glad and regular
kosher.
In the preparation or in the...
Right. So it used to be, so I could talk about it in the US. I don't know how it was in Israel because I'm new here. It used to be in the US that it was a big thing to get galat kosher meat. Like if you ate galat kosher meat, you were considered, like only the rabbis and the special super religious people ate galat. Everyone else ate regular meat. Okay, so regular meat basically,
It's third grade.
yeah, 3rd grade. Regular meat is basically there's adhesions in the lungs. Everyone agrees that if there's actual holes in the lungs, it's not good. The difference between the lowest level and the highest level is basically to the extent of how much adhesions and if you could peel it off. And so the highest level is where it's completely clear. There's nothing to peel off. Galat kosher or halak is basically, what could I peel off that won't create any holes? The lowest level is where you can't make a hole, but there's much more adhesions. It's easier to make it kosher. Basically, there's less restrictions. Basically,
So you don't remove the application.
no, you have to remove it, but you could remove thicker, like
Oh,
basically if it's a very big adhesion,
yeah.
as long as there's no hole.
So in regular kosher, let me see if I understand this
Yeah.
correctly. You still remove the adhesions. You can just get away with removing more numerous ones and bigger ones as long as there's
Bigger
no
ones, yeah.
hole
As long as
left
no
behind.
holes, basically,
Oh, okay.
because what happens is it's an expense issue.
Right.
So when you elevate a chicken, that one chicken is going to go for kosher, unless there's a problem with, unless it's an avela, unless the shochet did something wrong. There was a mistake. His knife, let's say, has a pekima, has like a little bit. There's something wrong with his knife. It's not sharp, or there's something wrong. Then there's a problem with, as we mentioned, it's an avela. But after that, there's nothing. Unless there's a big problem. But basically, every chicken you shech is going to be fine. Not every cow that you shech, that you slaughter, is going to be good. In a lot of places, you're only going to get about 40 to 50% kosher.
That's a lot of waste.
That's a lot of waste.
So they just throw if the cow is not kosher?
So the way it works is like this. So the numbers, it depends on the numbers. So I was just watching from a company that does in Montreal. It's a company that I worked for in the past. And they advertise, they want to show how good their meat is, how religious they are, how cool they are. So the way to demonstrate how cool they are and how sort of strict they are, they say, we throw out 70% of the meat. So it comes 100 cattle, 70% of the cattle we don't use. We only take 30% of whatever comes out kosher. Okay, so 30% is pretty strict. What they're trying to say is that we're only going to give you like Bet Yosef or Galat. We're going to give you like the very, very best. We're not going to give you the lower grades ones. Now, if you take basically, because of the animals, the way they're raised, or just the way the normal natural of animals is that most animals are not going to be 100% Bet Yosef. So if you have 100 animals, the top 5%, let's say whatever, the top 10% are going to be Bet Yosef, the lungs are going to be perfectly clean. The next grade is going to be, another 10, 15% will be, galat. It will be smooth, but a little bit. And the next one is going to be, so if you go down and you're willing to take all different grades of meat, you'll have maybe 80% kosher and 20% like 100% like not kosher. So in the olden days when meat was very expensive, and it's expensive now, but you basically had to use everything. So you had to use 80, 90% of the meat, and now it's basically flipped the opposite, where if you want to show how religious you are, you want to show how cool you are, you want to say, well, I use, the 1%ers,
Right.
What's
And
your question?
So what happens to these cows that are not kosher?
Yeah.
Are
Okay,
they
so-
sold to non-Jews?
So it's a very good question. So
They sell to Muslim or something
Yeah.
like that?
So because it's slaughtered, all these you're doing a 500 a day, let's say, for example. That's how much we do at the plant that I work at, or used to work at.
500.
Yeah,
Wow.
500 is not a lot.
Oh,
500 is considered like,
it's a small normal.
that's considered normal for a day.
Average.
Yeah.
Oh.
So they're all shechted, all 500 are shechted, so they could be sold to Muslims that want halal,
No.
because with halal, as long as it's shechted, it's fine. They don't care what happens after. They don't care about treif, they only care about the nevela, right? They want to make sure that it was shechted properly. If it's, okay, so, good question. What do you do with all those other animals? So the way it works is that when someone owns, there's two business models how to do this. If you own your own factory, like Rabashkin in Iowa, if you own your own factory and you buy the cattle belongs to you. the way you have to do your business is basically your business is a non-kosher business. Your main business, your kosher business is like a very side business. Your main focus is like, okay, who wants to buy meat? So you go, let's say, to Costco. You have to set up accounts with major companies that are buying meat. You have to set up your food processing, your everything based on what do these large companies want. And then once you have accounts from Costco, from Trader Joe's, from like bigger companies, then you could say, okay, so now we have our non-kosher, which is our main business. Now we could start our side business, which would be our kosher business. So because there isn't discrimination to buy kosher meat, and there's, halal will buy it, or we're not living like in the olden country where like, the non-Jews didn't want to do business with us, because we're officially living in an open society. So we could say that we want the highest, we want the 1% and we want the 5% kosher, and everything else, if we can make enough money selling the non-kosher, then it doesn't create a problem. Well, it does create a problem, which I'll get into, but the business model is, well, we could sell the meat. So it's not a problem to say, you know what, 70% will go to non-kosher, 30% will go to kosher.
It's not a waste.
Because it's not a waste, because they're selling the non-kosher market value, or sometimes even more. Because I've spoken to many owners in the past, especially with like when COVID was going around. They were making so much money because a lot of the plants were closed. They were making so much money on the meat that they were doing less shechita. Like even if they had a shechita, some of them were doing less per day, or even like canceling a day or two, because they were making so much money on the non-kosher. It wasn't worth it, the time to process the kosher. It wasn't worth it financially for them, So that's one model where you basically are a non-kosher business. The other model, which they do in a lot of South America, is they go to a company that already does meat, a non-kosher company, and they say, okay, I'm gonna buy whatever comes out kosher, we're only gonna buy the kosher ones. So they don't have to deal, the non-kosher company deals with the rest of the animal.
I don't understand. So
Instead of
that business model, who would do the shkita?
No, so in that business model where you don't own the factory,
Right.
and you're just going to Mexico, let's say, or Argentina, you have your kosher staff that comes.
Okay.
You fly in a whole staff from Israel or the US, and they come and they do your process for you. But the owner only purchases the meat.
They're just using the equipment, or I mean, not the equipment, but the area.
The facility.
The facility.
And they only pay for the meat that comes out kosher. Okay. Now, even once it comes out kosher, the animal has two sides. There's two parts to the animal. There's the back end and then the front end. Okay. So the animal has 13 ribs. So we also have 13 ribs. I think most mammals have 13 ribs. And there became this artificial way of dividing the animal. This is more of an industrialized model to divide the animal into quarters. So they put them in 4 quarters. And this is not necessarily a natural thing, because like we learn in the Beis HaMikdash, when we talk about the animal, it talks about the entire animal. There isn't a distinction. If you look at early commentary, you look at the Mishnah, the Gemara, stuff like that, the early texts of us, there isn't that distinction between, we only eat the front half of the animal, we don't eat the back. So traditionally, the way we grew up in America, we're taught that the front end is kosher and the back end is treif. We don't eat the back end. Okay? Why don't we eat the back end? Because the back end is treif. Why is it treif? Why is it not kosher? Well, because it's very complicated. The back end, one of the most complicated sections it has, it's called the Gida Nasha, which is the sciatic nerve. And the sciatic nerve is not kosher, and it has many other forbidden fats and forbidden nerves that we're not allowed to eat. We could get into that a different time or later. And basically, to make life easier, they decided, you know what? We're just going to sell the whole back end to non-Jews. So it was just more cost effective to just divide the cow from the 12th rib. The 13th rib goes to the back end, and then the front end goes to the Jewish people.
Oh, so whenever we eat meat, we only eat the front one.
The front quarter.
Oh.
So that's the way it was. So it depends how far back you want to go. In ancient Jewish time, we ate the whole thing. There wasn't such a distinction between the front and the back. There was no, if a cow was kosher, if it was shechted, if they checked it and everything was fine, there's nothing, the back, there is no distinction between front and back. If it's kosher, it's kosher. But in this more industrialized model, where it's easy, and basically once cattle, the history of cattle briefly is basically, they looked at the way Ford was making his cars. One of the chiddush, how do you say chiddush in English? One of the great things that Ford did with cars, I'm not a specialist in cars or anything, but one of the things is he made an assembly line. And that's how he was able to make cars a lot cheaper. He was able to make an assembly line. So they learned, the meat industry learned from them how to take a cow, how to break it down in a factory in a way where it's assembly line, where they like every person, it goes like on a chain, and every person specializes in one piece, and they cut off that piece, and then it goes to the next person. So they're able to make it fast, to make it more efficient. You know? So when that model started, where it became an assembly line, much faster to process it, it was easy to just sell the back half because everything was done automated. It was much faster. Everything was much faster. So at that point, whenever that started, the Jewish market decided, why should we bother koshering the back? The back is very complicated. There's a lot of forbidden fats. It's called chalev, which is forbidden fat. Why? Because of the fat and the sciatic nerve. We'll get into that later about there's permitted fats and forbidden fats. Not all fats are the same. The fat that we see in meat, that we eat meat now, that fat is kosher fat. There's forbidden fat that's primarily in the back end, the hindquarters, what they call.
So wait, so now it's universal that we just don't eat the back part?
So depends. So there's a lot of different nows. So
Okay.
Let me break it down. So when I was growing up, I'm not 100 years old, but when I was growing up in Brooklyn, or whenever, I guess from the 20s or the 30s, whenever, it was just a standard. It became a standard thing in the industrialized world that we don't eat the back. The back is not kosher. We're just going to sell it to non-Jews. It's just easier that way. So because of that, the Jewish people developed this idea over years, like, oh, we don't touch that. That's not kosher. We don't. Originally, it wasn't about not being kosher. It's just complicated.
It's just complicated.
It's not worth the time. Just like. So basically, over the years, people lost the tradition of how to do it, how to process it, and how to do it correctly. So over 50, 100, whatever, how many years when it started, people lost the tradition. So people have this misconception that the back is not kosher. So if you go anywhere in the U.S., you cannot find, when you buy kosher meat, whichever you go, any kosher meat that's certified kosher, it's only the front end, only the front end. But the back end, you're missing half of the cow is missing, and some of the best pieces, the filet mignon, the best pieces of meat.
Oxtail.
Well, yeah,
Ah.
right. Well, oxtail is a complicated thing,
Oh.
but because we actually use it, even though we don't use the back, for
You
some
do
reason,
have-
yes,
Ah.
you could buy oxtail for some reason, and that's a good question.
Yeah.
Why are people allowed to eat oxtail if it's the hindquarters?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I mean, I'm vegetarian, but
Right,
I
you
used
heard
to
about
cook
oxtail.
oxtail.
Right.
So
Yeah,
for my family, they all
Right.
ate oxtail.
right. So I don't know why. I've asked the question many times, and no one really has a real answer. But the question only comes about is because we think that the back end is not kosher.
Oh.
So we're like, oh, 1 second, the oxtail is not kosher. Why are we allowed to eat that? But that question is coming, and I asked the question too. It's coming out of ignorance because you think, oh, 1 second, the back end is not kosher. Then why are we allowed to eat the oxtail? It's not. It's the opposite. The whole animal is kosher. There's nothing wrong with the whole animal. How did it develop that in the U.S. and in most countries, even in Israel, how did it develop that when you buy kosher, it's the front quarter, not the back quarter? It's because we lost the tradition of how to check and how to process the back. That basically we're like, we don't do this. We don't do this. It developed. Yeah.
So if I go to a meat shop here in Batang tomorrow,
Right.
how likely am I to find something that belongs to the back area?
Nothing. You're not going to find it
I'm
here.
not gonna find it.
No. But if you
But
go
if I'm
to
in my house and I have my own cattle and
Right.
I don't know, my husband is
Shochet.
shochet,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
he's like, I'm gonna do this.
Right. If you know how to do it,
Yeah, and he
it's
knows how to do
it's
it.
100% kosher. There's nothing
Okay.
wrong with a filet mignon. Those pieces are just as kosher as a brisket. There's nothing.
So, and then if I really wanted that specific piece, like what you said, would I be able to find a place that does
Sure.
do it?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, what happens is, Israel was always different because Israel had a lot of immigrants from Arab countries that kept that tradition alive, that kept the tradition of how to kosher the back end. And because where the countries where they live, where they had to use everything, and because whatever different various reasons that they never lost that tradition. So what the Sephardim, the people from Spain and the people from those Sephardic countries, the Arabic countries, they never lost the tradition, and they always taught anyone that knows how to do this. They taught their kids. They said, like just like you have to, check the brisket, you have to check the blood vessels. This is another thing you have to check for the sciatic nerve, how to take it out. Just because it's complicated doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. So in Israel, even from the beginning of the state, they always had people that were certified that knew how to do the back end. So today in Israel, you could buy meat like in Rami Levy or some of the bigger stores. You could buy meat that is the back end of the meat, okay? But if you look at it, it's not going to say Bet Yosef, it's not going to say Glatt, it's going to say kosher under the Rabbanut, okay? Under the rabbinical of LA, of Israel, and it's going to have a special color. It's going to be green. It's going to indicate that it's from. I don't know if it's going to say back end, but it's going to be. If you read the label clearly, it's going to show that it's only under the Rabbanut. It's not under a higher authority, so to speak, because in Israel, Rabbanut is considered, whether it's true or not, Rabbanut is considered sort of like entry-level kosher. Like, they're concerned to make sure that it's kosher. If you go to Yerushalayim, to a very religious neighborhood, they don't trust the Rabbanut. They say Rabbanut is state. I don't trust, because it's under the state, right? I don't trust the state of Israel to run my kosher. I'm holier than the state. I'm more religious than the state. I only trust my rabbis. I only trust, so what we call, let's say, the Haredim, the very religious people, they say, okay, I want my meat to not just be under Rabbanut, because Rabbanut is sort of like the basic level. Like everyone has to be under Rabbanut because they're like the state health department. They're like sort of like the state department where you can't, but they say on top of the state, we're gonna have our rabbis that come and certify and say that this meat's good. So the real holy rollers, like the very like holy people in Meir Sharim or Jerusalem or Bnei Brak or Beit Shemesh, places like that, they won't eat the back end. Even they're from Israel, even if they're Sephardim, even if they're they're like our tradition, we don't eat the back, we only eat the front, and we also want only our rabbis to certify that this meat's kosher. We want we want, and it has to be under a certain name. I didn't bring labels with me, but I wanted to bring a label where it's like under, Lubavitch, under this, it has to have their sticker, like their rabbi. That's
Is that why the meat is expensive? Because it goes from rabbis to another rabbi?
Well, yeah,
You're gonna pay for them?
Right.
Certify?
So part of why it's expensive is because, so besides the labor that it costs, but when you want a higher level kosher, you have to pay more because there's more staff, there's more things involved that you have to do for kosher. So that's why we're talking about the three different categories of like the highest level and the lowest level kosher. The reason why it was popular is because it's cheaper. When it's lower, it's just,
So you started this class by saying that if the animal that we're eating is eating good, healthy food for them, then that's better for us.
right.
Does that mean that the food that's fed to these cows that will later be in that way, are they all grass fed? Does that matter for kosher? Is it something that maybe it doesn't matter to affect like the legal ruling,
Right.
or if it's kosher or not, but like, have they noticed that there's more lesions if they feed it corn, so they don't, or they try to get cows from like a free range whatever because they've noticed that either they have less additions or it's just better for the processor? How does that pre-factory life of the cow come into play?
So I think there's an argument, and I don't think anyone done a full study to know what are grass fed. Like if you took grass fed and you took corn fed, which one comes out more kosher? Like what percentage? So that would be an interesting study to figure out. Anecdotally, what I've heard and what I've spoken to my friends, that it seems to be that the grass fed comes out more kosher. That there's more, that there's less problems with the lungs because you're giving it. Now also it could also be because when you give it corn, it gets bigger and fatter. Now when it gets bigger and fatter, the lungs
asthmatic and blah, blah.
Right. So basically when it's getting bigger, it's not like the lungs are getting bigger. The lungs stay the same, just like with a human. If someone's overweight, it doesn't mean that their heart is bigger.
It's a lot of fat.
Right, it's a lot of fat. So basically the bigger they are, I can't give a definite answer, but I think it's.
If I wanted to be the queen of all snobs,
Could
I ask somebody like, was this cow grass fed? Is there a way to know that in the kosher sticker or certification?
Right, you have to ask, because what happens is in South America, in a lot of these places, grass is very cheap there. In the US, the issue with the US is that, and I don't know if it's other countries, US corn is subsidized. So because it's not the real price when you pay for corn, the farmers are getting subsidized. Because they're getting subsidized, they're giving it to the cattle. And you have it in like high fructose corn syrup and ketchup and bread. Corn is like, I don't know if it's like that in other countries, but in the US, it's being pumped corn because it's cheap. Now, so what was your question again?
if I wanted to know if
Oh,
the cow that I'm
so-
buying.
Yeah, so what happens is, the problem is that if you don't give it corn, if it's completely grass-fed forever, the animals are small. They're smaller. So what they do in South America, because corn is so expensive and grass is free.
How about in Europe? Because I think in Spain we only have videos, but I don't know how much corn there goes
Right.
into that diet. Because a lot of the cattle that we get that's kosher comes from either France or even Spain.
Right. So it depends on what the price of corn is, and what that determines the price of corn, and also it depends. Like in South America, their finished cattle is it's smaller than the U.S., but it would be even smaller if they don't give it corn. What happens is, what they do is in South America, they'll feed it most of its life grass, because that's free and cheap. And then towards the last few months, they'll give it corn. So it's called corn finished, okay? Because if it didn't have any corn, it would be small, and it'd be very, very lean, extremely lean. So you would have to go, if you want to be the queen of all queens, you want to go and ask for grass-fed. Now, grass-fed is going to be more expensive, and it's not going to taste as good. It's going to be smaller, it's not going to taste good, it's going to be more expensive.
Have you ever eaten non-kosher meat?
No.
Yeah, I
The
get.
texture is
very
very
tasty.
different. I think as hard as kosher meat can be, it will never be as hard as non-kosher meat.
Right.
Because of the way that it still has its blood.
So tasty.
So,
Before back in India, I
Yeah.
used to eat non-kosher food. After I reached Israel, I eat
Yeah.
kosher food. The taste is different.
Uh-huh.
I don't feel tasty with kosher food. I didn't like it yet.
Yeah.
Might be some days I like it, but till now I didn't like it.
Oh, you don't like it?
I did like it. I don't.
I have the opposite opinion, and it's so much softer, kosher meat. So
Uh-huh.
much softer because it
Yeah.
doesn't have blood. The blood then is, if you don't remove it properly, then it gets absorbed into the muscles, and then the meat is just gross.
Yeah. And then we can't
Don't
cook for a
do
long
it.
time, kosher meat, like 30 minutes, and then no need to cook for like 1 hour.
And also-
Non-kosher food is like, we used to cook for like 1 hour, like, yeah.
Right.
Kosher meat doesn't go bad as good.
Uh-huh.
Like you make a steak, it's not kosher, in a day and a half, the steak is
Right.
inedible, kosher food, a
Yeah.
couple days longer. It's really gross,
Yeah.
non-kosher.
Yeah.
It's so gross.
But tasty, I
So
like it
gross.
so much.
No.
Now, if you had good
I had-
American, you ever had American beef?
No.
Kosher. So if you had kosher American, I think you'd like it better.
Oh.
Because the
Then
Israelis,
Israel.
yeah, because basically Israel doesn't import. It gets very, very, very little meat from America. It's not worth it. Basically, South America is a lot cheaper to ship it to Israel. I mean, the company that I worked for used to send certain, and it still does send a very small percentage of meat to Israel, and that's going to very high-end restaurants in like Tel Aviv, to like extremely expensive places. A regular, like Rami Levy, a regular grocery store it's not worth it. It's very, very high-end expensive stuff. So if you ate American high-quality kosher meat, it would taste completely different from Israeli stuff.
Oh.
Because I eat now Israeli meat, and it's all coming from South America, and I don't like it as much as because I'm a chef. I do a lot of cooking, and I could tell the difference.
Is it a different smell as well?
Like, which one is better for you?
I like the U.S. a lot better because I'm just used to that fattier meat,
Yeah.
so that's why, you know.
So I'm sure it's a really, really engaging class.
Yeah.
And, but they need to have a break. They're
Okay.
supposed to end 5 minutes before.
Okay.
So, we have to make a break.
Okay.
So turn also off and say goodbye.
Okay.
And you can finish your sentence, I'm so sorry. I'm very, very thankful to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. I guess we'll just finish up really quick. So after they check that it's kosher, the next process is called nikur.
Put in a salt.
No, nikur is, if you have my book, that's the profession that I do, it doesn't have a picture of it, but what the particular profession I do is called nikur, which is deveining, where you have to take out the blood vessels. Deveining, you take out the blood vessels and you take out the forbidden fats. These are two things that have to come out of the animal.
What's the word again?
Deveining.
What the name of your profession?
It's called nikur.
They take out the blood vessels
And the fats. There's forbidden fats, and then there's blood that we're not allowed to eat. And nikur. Nikur, I think. Nikur.
I just read it like
Yeah. So after so that's what I do. I surgically basically remove the forbidden fats and the forbidden blood vessels that have to come
And
out.
what do you do with it?
We have to throw it out.
Don't you burn it or?
No. It gets processed. I mean, we don't not really throw it out, but it can't be included in the kosher. And then after that is the process of salting, where we salt the meat to extract the blood that's on the meat.
Now that's make the meat like
Very
so
salty,
soft.
right?
Yeah, so soft.
Right. And in that itself, there's a whole process. We don't have time to get into the whole salting process, but we salt it. We have to soak it first. There's a 3-step process. We soak it first, then we salt it for half an hour. Soak it for half an hour, salt it for an hour, and then rinse it 3 times after. So it's a 3.
Salt.
Is the middle.
For half an hour.
No, salt for an hour,
Salt for an hour.
soak it for half an hour, and then rinse it 3 times after. So it's a 3-step process.
Thanks for the teaching.
Yeah.
So there's 5 categories and 8 categories and everything you're gonna do still next time?
I'm not sure what my schedule is, but
Oh.
Could you say
Can I just
yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think we should do without bats and all of that.
my dad used to
It
do
was
it
really
next to
fascinating.
Yeah, I love this lesson.
Mendel?
Yeah.
Could I just ask you something? Just
Yeah.
about the shchita.
The rabbits need to take a break, so yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, the shchita, how is that done in a factory setting? Is it one person? No, it can't be just one person that does it, or is it?
It's one person per time, yeah, but it's set up with a special box. It's designed with a box and the shochet. Yeah, it's a one-person job. It's a whole staff because you need one person actually doing it, and then 2 people checking knives. Because between one, you have to check the knife to make sure it's still sharp.
Right.
So it's an entire staff of like 15, 20 people doing different jobs.
Okay. And the animals are they in kind of oh, don't worry, yeah, I'm holding you up. I'll Google it.
Okay.
Anyway, thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. So,
ended and